Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. My name is Monica and today we are doing my introduction for my Pan That palettes for 2022. This is my 5th year doing Pan That palette and it's been 5 years. This is my 5th year doing Pan That palette. That is so crazy to actually think about. Wow. So over the last 4 years, I've done 4 different Pan That palettes. My first year was a Marc Jacobs palette, which was a fairly neutral palette. My second year was ABH's Subculture. My third year was the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Blood Sugar palette. And the 4th year was the Natasha Denona Lila palette. So if you missed any of those journeys, I will have all those playlists down in the description box, and I'll throw the latest one, the Lila, up in the cards. But these are like my favorite projects to do. I love project panning. I love specifically focusing on eyeshadow because A, it's my favorite part of makeup. I love focusing on eyeshadow. I love eyes. I love everything about it. It's so artistic to me and I love it. But also I love these eyeshadow project pans specifically because they like ignite the most creativity. Like I love finding different ways to use products. I love finding different uses for things. I love mixing. I love frankening. And these just seem to be like the best outlets for that. So this year, I challenged myself a lot last year by doing a palette with a lot of products. So if you don't know, the Natasha Denona palettes, the 129, they have like 30 grams of product, which is bananas. Like it's crazy. But I was actually able to finish that palette. It came right freaking down to the wire. Like I finished the palette like 2 days before New Year's. So it was there. But I wanted to give myself another challenge this year. So this year, I'm gonna be panning 2 palettes. And those 2 palettes are the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette and the Colourpop Yes Please palette. So these are very, very sentimental to me and they're fairly old, which is why I thought this would be finally like the perfect year to do this. So the reason I chose these was quite a few reasons. The first one is I've been feeling like the last few weeks, maybe a couple of months, I've been feeling very, very like nostalgic for old school YouTube, like 2014, 2015 YouTube, maybe even earlier, where people were kind of sitting with like really bad lighting, really focusing kind of like on the tutorial aspects and just like really connecting with people. And I've picked quite a few channels where I've decided to do what I'm calling deep dives, and I go back to watch their earliest videos, and I love those videos. I love watching those old videos, the grainy, the not quite as polished videos, and think back as to where like I was as a person back when I was actually watching those, not only to A, help me appreciate more what I have now and what I've been able to accomplish since then, but B, really appreciate those videos as a whole because I went through quite a rough patch in my life between like 2014 and let's just say realistically like 2019. Part of me feels guilty for like kind of thriving in 2020 and 2021. Those have been really good years for me. So to make kind of a very long story short, I've been personally going back and kind of watching those old videos and reminiscing and pulling inspiration from those kind of older videos and that time back then for like current looks and current video ideas and just kind of bringing the nostalgic back. And so when I was thinking of what I wanted to pan for next year, A, I wanted it to be a challenge, but B, I thought the way I could really push myself out of my comfort zone would be less about color story, because the last few years I've really challenged myself color story wise. I really wanted to challenge myself to pan something I didn't really want to pan. And let me explain. These are very sentimental to me. Like the Naked 2 palette, this is at least 6 years old. I believe I got this back in 2015. And this is sentimental because this was a palette that I was dying for. All the tutorials, this came out and tutorials exploded. Everyone was talking about how beautiful this was. You saw tutorials on YouTube, you saw tutorials on Pinterest, which is where I saw a lot of them. And I really wanted this palette so badly. But I had a lot of student loans and I had a job making basically minimum wage at a bookstore. I couldn't really afford makeup. So So I watched a lot of drugstore makeup starter kits and like dupe videos, and I never got like a palette like this. This was my first Urban Decay Naked palette, and this was one of my first, I believe, first ever higher end palettes. And my grandma actually bought this for me as a gift. So this is very sentimental to me, and for that reason, I tended to kind of treat this now, which sounds ridiculous when I say it, I tended to treat it more like an heirloom, kind of. Like, I didn't really want to use it too much. Like, I've actually got quite a lot of use in some of the shades up here and like right down here, but I haven't quite hit pan yet because I was afraid of actually using this up. I want to work through that, and I actually want to finish this whole palette up. The reason I think I could finish this in the year is A, these are much more neutral tones that I don't think I'm gonna have a problem using every day and multitasking with. And B, like I said, I'm close to pan on a couple of these shades already. Like, I think I can hit pan in these, no problem, pretty quick. I also, you can almost see pan in this shade right here. This is the shade Verve. So I think like this palette is probably already like a fifth done with because of the use I've had up until this point. This project is really going to be pushing me to go to finish up the remaining 4/5. I don't like math. The remaining parts of it. Now the Colourpop Yes Please palette. I wanted to use this because, again, I felt like I was holding like a piece of makeup history. Like, this was Colourpop's first ever palette, and it was a dupe for a Natasha palette, which also kind of ties into like my Pen That palette from last year, which is why I thought this was like a perfect kind of transition in. And again, I didn't want to like completely use this because I was afraid of finishing it up. I mean, of course, it's still available for purchase. You can buy it again, but I'm not personally buying from Colourpop because I am disappointed in Colourpop. Colourpop is literally like, you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Like, they're literally like the definition of everything wrong with fast fashion, fast company, fast everything today. And their quality has gone drastically down since they came out with this palette. So while I'm not personally purchasing from them, I still have quite a few older products from them, and this is the oldest one. I remember trying to buy this when it was sold out. I remember wanting this so bad because I think I got this, I can't remember if I got this before the Sunset palette or after, but I wanted it so bad to compare. And yeah, again, so I feel like we've got quite a few more neutral tones in here and shades that I don't think I'm gonna have trouble reaching for every day. But I think in combination with the Naked 2 palette, it's gonna be a challenge, but not like in a bad way. Like, I think this is gonna be a good challenge, and by having kind of like the neutral tones and really the neutral warm tones in here, I'm gonna be a bit more free to bring in more color from like the rest of my eyeshadow collection. And these pans are actually pretty small. They're about the size of my thumb here in the Colourpop. I'll actually look up, you know, how many grams of product each one of these has, and I'll throw it up right here. Something's telling me it's not as much as the Lila palette. And since I was able to finish the Lila palette last year, I don't think, I don't know, I could come back in like a few months and be like, oh, January Monica, she was talking out of her butt, right? But I don't think this is going to be as much of an actual using up the product challenge, but it is going to be more of a me trying to work through something sentimental and then let it go challenge, right? Because that's why I still have a palette from 2015. That's why I didn't want to finish Colourpop's first palette, the palette from when they were like the bright, young, beautiful new brand, the great affordable brand that everyone was like rooting for and cheering for, because then I would have to acknowledge where they currently are. That got a little dark. But yeah, so that's my idea. That's my challenge. These are my palettes. So I'm going to be doing a Pan That palette. I don't know. I'll figure out how I'm going to title this. But these are going to be my palettes for 2022 and 22. I'm panning 2 and 22. Damn it. I wish I could have taken credit and like said that was my idea from the beginning, but that literally just popped into my brain, and that's what we're going with. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below if you're going to be panning anything in 2022, be it an eyeshadow palette or another product. And if you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever my new videos come out. I have videos 2 times a week, every Tuesday and Friday, and I hope you'll come with me on this journey as I pan these 2 palettes this year. Thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.